can't see the fight. Smoke and mirrors, they lead the way. Fooling hearts night after day. Welcome to the show, it's all pretend. The smiles, the lies, the perfect end. The world's a stage, they run the flow. You clap on cue down in the front row. Painted faces, masks of stone. A hollow laugh that chills the bone. Puppets dangle strings unseen. Life's a trick, a cruel machine. Do you see it? Do you feel?
Tonight, we're going to talk about Patient Zero. So imagine a creature that is biologically wired to run, to climb, to build, to wrestle, and to take risks. A creature driven by testosterone and kinetic energy. Now, imagine that creature, and we're going to take it, and we're going to lock it in a small room for several hours a day, and we're going to force it to sit in a hard plastic chair. We're going to tell it to stare at a whiteboard, and every time that it moves, we're going to punish this creature. Now, eventually the creature is going to break, and when it breaks, the system doesn't say, maybe the room is the problem. The system says, the creature is sick. Let's drug it. Welcome back to Breaking the System. Today, we are talking about the single biggest casualty of the modern education system, the American boy. We are witnessing a catastrophe. Boys are dropping out in record numbers. They're falling out of college. They're killing themselves at a rate we have never seen. And we have to ask ourselves, why? Why is this happening? Because we have turned boyhood into a medical condition. We have designed a school system that is effectively hostile to male nature, and we are feeding our sons to Big Pharma to keep them quiet. So today we expose the war on boys. So let's talk about this hostile environment. Let's start with biology. And we can't ignore nature no matter how hard modern culture tries. Boys and girls are biologically different. Biologically, young boys have higher testosterone levels, lower levels of serotonin, and lower levels of dopamine than girls do. This means that we, the boys, the men, we are wired for action. We learn by doing and by moving and competing. But now let's look at the modern classroom. It is a verbal, sedentary environment that is designed for people who can sit, listen, and then repeat. In other words, it's designed for girls. And the stats, the statistics, back this up. Okay, so let's look at those. Over 75% of public school teachers are women. And if we break that down even further, if we look into the elementary school, it's nearly 90%. So 9 out of every 10 teachers in elementary are women. We have, in essence, removed the male model. We have removed the male modes of learning. When we cut classes because of funding, or for reasons like funding, we take away vocational shop classes where boys could learn to build and to fix things. And what do? Well, we replace it with test prep. Also, we take away recess. Since the 1980s, nearly 40% of school districts have reduced or eliminated recess to squeeze in more of this academic time. So we're going to take a boy, we're going to trap him in a female-dominant environment, we're going to take away his outlet for physical energy, and then we tell him that his natural instinct to move is what? It's disruptive. And we are not educating them. We are gaslighting them into thinking that their own biology is wrong. So that moves us into the next topic, the chemical straitjacket, and how Big Pharma is using this as a cash cow. When a boy inevitably fails to sit still for 6, 7, 8 hours, however long their classes are, when he fidgets, when he looks out the window, what do? Well, we enter in the diagnosis, ADHD, Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. Let's look at the numbers. The CDC reports that boys are 3 times more likely than girls to be diagnosed with ADHD. And in some states, nearly 20% of high school-aged boys have been diagnosed with ADHD. That's 1 in 5. So think about that. Is it possible that 20% of our male population just suddenly developed a brain disorder in the last 20 years? Or is it possible that we redefined normal boy behavior as a disease? So this is where the money comes in, and this is a medical industrial complex at work here. If a teacher can't control a classroom of energetic boys, okay, and let's be honest, they've took a lot of power away from the teacher anymore. Like, the teacher cannot do a lot of things that they used to be able to do, okay? So they've eliminated control of the classroom of these energetic boys. And so then what's the easiest solution? Well, it's not to change the teaching style, right? It's to send a note home to the parents saying, we think your son has a problem. Have you talked to a doctor? And what does that cure? Well, it comes in the form of stimulants, things like Ritalin and Adderall, drugs that are chemically very similar to street amphetamines. We are chemically castrating the energy out of our boys, out of our sons, to make them compliant employees for this system. And so a sedated boy doesn't ask questions. A sedated boy does not rebel. A sedated boy sits in his chair and fills out the worksheet, and then another, and then another, and then another, for 6, 7, 8 hours. They are trading your son's long-term mental health for a teacher's short-term convenience. But it's not just the meds. It's the culture. Boys and men, boys and men alike, right? We thrive on competition. We thrive on hierarchy. They want to know who is the fastest, who is the strongest, who is the smartest. Everything about boys is a competition. It's how they find their place in the world. It's how they drive themselves to be better tomorrow than what they are today, and so on and so forth. But the modern education system has declared war on competition. Why? Well, because someone's feelings might get hurt, right? And so we give and we get participation trophies. We give and we get cooperative learning instead of individual achievements. We get schools banning things like dodgeball because it's too aggressive, right? Has your school done this? Some have, some haven't, okay? But if it's just one school, right, that's banning these things, then that's another boy that has been deemed too aggressive. When you remove the winning or the winner and the losing or the loser dynamic, you destroy a boy's motivation. If everybody gets a gold star for showing up, The high-achieving boy checks out because his effort does not matter. And the struggling boy never learns the valuable lesson of losing, right? And that in itself is extremely important. Every person, no matter if you're a boy or a girl, right? You need to learn this valuable lesson of losing, and not everybody wins at everything all the time. We are raising men who are terrified of failure and conflict because they were never allowed to experience it in a safe environment. And don't get me started on zero tolerance policies, right? A 6-year-old boy chews a Pop-Tart into the shape of a gun and he gets suspended, right? It's a very, very hard topic to talk about because a lot of people have demonized guns, and just a picture of gun is bad. Okay. What about 2 boys that get into a scuffle at recess, right? Back in the day, this would have been considered normal roughhousing, right? But now what do? Well, in some cases, they get a police report or they get a police record. And in essence, we are criminalizing boyhood. And because of this, there is a fallout. Okay? We get this so-called failure to launch. And so that's kind of the result of this experiment. When we suppress masculinity for 12 years of schooling, right? What do we get? Well, we get this failure to launch generation. And if we look at the stats, for every 100 girls who graduate college, only 74 boys do. Men are now the minority in higher education. Male suicide rates are 4 times higher than female rates. And deaths of despair from things like drugs, alcohol, suicide, well, those are skyrocketing among young men. Okay? So because of this, we have created a generation of men, right? So once these boys grow up into adulthood and they get out into the real world, they feel useless. They feel like the system has no place for them. What do? Well, they retreat into video games. And why is this? Well, because video games give them what schools did not. They gives them a mission, a challenge, a chance to win, and a chance to be a hero, right? Any of us that have played a video game, most video games do that, okay? It gives us a chance to escape reality and to become something that reality just does not offer, okay? And why is that? Well, it's because the system has told them that their masculinity is just too damn toxic. So what do? They withdraw. And a society without strong and engaged men is a society that collapses. And there is an old proverb, in strong times it creates weak men, or in strong times it creates strong, in strong times it creates weak men, and in weak times it creates strong men. And if you look recently, we have been in some very strong times. Like, the economy's doing fairly well. I mean, let's be honest, we haven't had a huge recession in a while. We haven't had another Great Depression for many, many, many years. We haven't had an all-out war in years, right? So there's really no reason for men to really be men. Like, society in itself has become exorbitantly soft, so to speak. Okay? And when that happens, society collapses. And look around you. Is society not, especially in the United States, does society not feel like it is collapsing daily? Right? Every day. It just feels like it's a little bit worse than what it was yesterday. Right? It's like, today we're at 10, tomorrow let's take it to 11. And the day after that, let's take it to 12. Let's just see how far we can take this up until every person, every man, just collapses and gives up, right? And is that what the system is designing? Is that what the system is building so that we don't fight back, right? There's no warriors. We've destroyed them all. By what? By feminists, right? And I'm not saying that feminists is the root of all evil, right? But if there's no reason for men to be strong, then we're not going to create strong men. Okay? So the society collapses upon itself. So the war on boys and the war on men is real. And if you are raising a son, you are on the front lines. Or you should be. So what do you do? Well, you need to defend his nature to a certain point. Okay? If the school calls and says he's fidgeting, don't apologize. Ask him why he hasn't had a break in 3 hours. Okay? See if that's something that they'll work in. Question the diagnosis before you put your son on powerful mind-altering drugs. Ask yourself, is he really sick? Or is he just bored out of his frickin' mind? Okay? Does he need a little danger in his life? Does he need to go touch grass and climb a tree and let his knee get scraped and ride a bicycle and jump on a skateboard and maybe lose a damn game once in a while? Yeah. Maybe he needs to learn resilience and not safetyism. So, the system wants compliant, medicated drones. And in reality, to be able to fight back, to be able to fight the system, we need dangerous men. We need capable men. So don't let them take the fire out of your son. Okay? So I really want you to think about this. And if you are having issues with your son, being able to sit still for 3, 4, 5, 7, 8 hours out of the day, right? And he's extremely rambunctious. He's probably just got a lot of energy in him. He needs to go touch grass. He needs to ride a bike. He needs to go run, kick a ball. He needs to go be a boy and be wild and be free. Okay? Thanks for tuning in tonight. This is Breaking the System. Peace out. See you guys next time. Thanks.